I truly believe everybody is capable of anything. There is no limitation. And when you walk through that fire and you walk through those difficulties, you're telling your brain that you're capable of much more. We have to dictate what the limitation is to the governor. This part of the mind that is setting a limitation for ourselves. That is one of the biggest steps of being in charge of your future, your goals, your destiny, is by being in control of the governor. Welcome back to the Mulligan Brothers, and today I want to pose a question to you. Have you ever felt that your limits are holding you back? If something is stopping you from doing what you want to do? Well, today we're going to talk about the governor theory and how embracing the lessons around the governor theory can change your life and unlock your limits. Let's dive into the episode. So what is the governor theory? It's a suggestion that we have internal and physical limitations. There's these little governors that rule certain aspects of what we're able and what we're capable of doing. I was introduced to the governor theory when I started running the 480-mile run with a stone on my back and the world's heaviest marathon. I was reading a book called The Uphill Athlete, which I really do recommend. If you want to find out more, go to the link in the description where I'll leave that there. It's a book about helping endurance athletes go through some of the toughest situations, and that's where the governor theory came up. I don't want to butcher it, so I'm just going to dive into this quickly and just give you a little bit of the background. The concepts can be traced back to the early research in exercise physiology. In the mid-20th century, scientists began exploring how the body regulates effort during physical activities. It became clear that the brain plays a crucial role in controlling fatigue and exertion. The way I discovered this was it felt like in the most difficult of moments of my training, whilst I had 100 kilos crushing me, that there was something controlling it, the pain that I was allowed to feel. And that then shut down my legs. And the interesting part of that is some people might not understand what I mean by that, but it didn't matter what kind of pain I was feeling. It could be the physical endurance of that, holding that weight and the muscles going through that process, but also the straps that would cut into my skin, which was a completely different pain, also governed the exertion of my physical body. Once I had sort of discovered this for myself, I started to realize that pain, no matter where it was coming from, mental, physical, emotional, started to govern my physical outputs. And then I started to realize that that also played a massive role in my day-to-day life. And that's where I read the book and got onto the governor theory. So the perception of effort, theories like the central governor model proposed by Dr. Tim Noakes in the 1990s suggest that the brain anticipates physical limits and adjusts performance accordingly. Noakes posed that fatigue is not just the physical state, but a complex interplay of psychological signals and mental perceptions. Again, this is something that I was starting to discover through the most difficult training I'd ever experienced. And I've been physically training for my whole life, but it took doing something extreme, and I mean extreme, to find this out. Over time, psychologists began to recognize the impact of mental barriers on performance. Concepts of self-efficacy and mindset influenced by psychologists like Albert Bandura emphasized the belief in one's abilities can alter perceived limits. The beliefs in one's abilities can alter perceived limits. I mean, this is science, guys. If you do not believe that you can achieve it, if you do not have high goals and high limitations in your mind, you are altering what you're able to perform. If you do not believe that you can lift 180 kilos, when you get to the bar, you're not going to be able to do it. If you do not have high limitations for yourself, that I will be able to become the best version of myself as a filmmaker and I will be able to win a BAFTA or an Oscar, then I will alter the performance that I'm able to perform at. I won't be able to output a great performance because I believe that I am not capable of the highest of highs. And it might not mean that I reach the highest of highs, but if I do not believe it, I won't be getting the maximum that my potential is. Les Brown, I know I come back to this all the time, but shoot for the moon, and even if you miss, you'll end upon the stars. I love that quote, but it kind of speaks to this as well. And then we talk about the modern applications. So today, the governor theory is applied in various fields, including sports psychology, personal development, and resilience training. Coaches and psychologists encourage individuals to recognize the challenge these internal limits of these internal limits to enhance performance and well-being. So going back to the video, that is the governor theory. Simply speaking, the way that I have always seen it, and it's been a very much visual way of looking at it for me when I was talking about the physical aspects of this. So when I was training for my event, I imagined the governor, which was a very small man who lived in my mind, who was pulling all the strings. And when he was getting signaling from my body that there was pain, and that's the only thing that he was able to see, he had a big red button that when pain came up, he would then reduce the output on my physical capability. And that pain did not matter where it came from. So at the start, that pain was coming from the physical walk of carrying the stone. And that was very tough. And he had a little red light and he would adjust accordingly. Well, we think his legs should be able to do this today. And then he would get pain from the cuts on my back and the cuts across the skin of my hips. And he'd adjust that back some more. And that could really almost stop me. That skin cut could almost stop the governor going, hey, you're not doing this anymore. Your body is not allowed to go on anymore because I deem it physically unsafe because you're receiving too much pain. And then there was the emotional. And sometimes that would completely shut it down. Emotional pain could shut down my physical body. That to me is fascinating. But now I'm finished with the run. I want to take a look at how we can apply that to our day-to-day life, because the governor theory is something that I have noticed among everything from my career in filmmaking, my business, my family life, and the physical performance. It really does have a massive effect, and that only speaks to the power of the mind. Before that, I just want to say a massive thank you to our sponsors today, Huel, a quick, affordable, nutritionally complete source of food. I'm drinking Black Edition today. It has 26 vitamins and minerals, 35 grams of protein, and slow release carbs. I drink one of these every single day. Most of the days, I'll drink two, and they're absolutely amazing. When I'm in a pinch for time, I'll grab that. If I've got a little bit more time, I'll get something like the shake as well, where you just scoop, shake, and go, and you can be on your way. But I'll speak a little bit more about these later on in the video. But let's dive back into it. So whilst training for the world's heaviest marathon and the 480-mile run, I like I said, I started to notice the governor theory, or the governor starting to take over. And it was a very loud signal to my body to stop. And I started to realize that this thing in my mind was creating physical limitations in my body. And that's where I decided to start taking a look at it and seeing how I could adjust and do resilience training to improve and help in my life. The one thing I would also say that is good, and you're watching this video right now, so this could change it just if you made it to this point. Awareness was one of the most important factors of this. Understanding that there was something up here controlling something down here. And we all know that. We have a brain, it's very powerful. But understanding that there was something subliminally sending signals to my body to stop it from working changed quite a lot. And I was able to improve past that point because I had an awareness. Once I was butting up to a physical limitation, perceived physical limitation, I was then able to push past it. And this is the bit I want to talk to you about now. Who's in charge? The governor in here, the thing that we're talking about, this governor theory, is part of your mind that dictates how much perceived pain you can receive physically, and it could be emotionally, whatever it is, your resilience, what you're able to do, any goal in life, or you. And I started to realize that there was this battle between me and the governor. And I started to have this self-talk about talking to the governor and working with him at times and letting him know that I'm in charge, but sometimes pushing past it. And that is when I started to tell him and dictate that there are new levels that my body is capable of doing. When we look at the world's heaviest marathon, there was many people who told me that it was an impossible feat to do. And that's because no one had done anything like that. I think that, the furthest 100 kilos had been carried was maybe like a mile or two at max, not for 28 miles. And the set belief for human beings was around that 1 to 2 mile mark. for me, I never paid attention to that. And I was able to blast past the 1 mile mark, the 2 mile mark, and get way beyond that. And then the governor kicked in and he said, well, hold on a second, Jordan, your limitations around here, around the 10 mile mark. And then I had to go back, and this is what we have to do with all limitations, is we have to dictate what the limitation is to the governor. This part of the mind that is setting a limitation for ourselves. So for me, the way in which I did this was incremental change. At 10 miles, my body shut down and we had a bad session. I went home, I reassessed it, I came back. The next training session I wanted to set, it was supposed to be 10 miles again, just to prove to my body and my coach, he wanted to see that I could do 10 miles. I knew that the battle was mental, and I knew that if I could go 2 miles past that 10 mile mark, that I'm telling my mind that actually I'm capable of much more than the 10 mile. So that's what we set out to do. And I absolutely smashed through this 12 mile. I believed at that moment, I started to vision in that morning that I was able to do the 28 miles. So 12 miles was nothing. And that really set a new bar for the governor. And it also left this sort of linger of, in my head, well, hold on a second. If 12 miles is capable, 18, 19, 20 is also possible. And from that point on, the training sessions up until the 18 mile mark were quite easy. Subjectively, they were very difficult, but the part that shut me down was non-present. It wasn't there. And that's because I'd pushed past that limitation. So we have to do this through visualization and through physical and practical ways of demonstrating that. So we have to demonstrate to ourselves and to our mind that it is possible. So this is the way we set up a goal. And you can take any one of your goals that you have in mind. So let's take, you want to start a business and you want X business to be worth, to generate £1 million of revenue in its first year. And you set that goal and that limitation, £1 million. That's what I believe is achievable, £1 million. Now, I would say that you've already made a mistake if you truly want to earn that £1 million. But let's just assume, and I'll cut back to this in a second, but you've got that goal. Then in your mind, the work is a certain amount of work that it requires to get to that position of earning £1 million. At some point, if it's not within your capability or it's not within your within your belief, that workload and your skill set, your mind will start to come in. The governor will start to come in and dictate whether you are capable of doing it. It will put doubt into your mind. It will slow you down. It will bring you back to a place of where it believes you truly are. So here's how we overcome that situation. Instead of, let's say we want to earn £1 million, instead of that, we need to truly believe we can reach way beyond that. We need to set a goal that we can reach beyond the limitation of £1 million, and we need to have that somewhat in the distance. And it's not to say that you truly want to achieve it that year, but you need to believe you are capable of achieving beyond that. And we hear this thing all the time of the curse of setting your goal. Sometimes the saddest thing about it is you will achieve it, and people don't understand that. They're like, well, I'd be happy with £1 million. Well, actually, once you achieve it, you'll probably realize that you're capable of much more. And that's why a lot of the time we need to stretch beyond it anyway. Like, I think we're all capable of a lot more, and we should be shooting for the moon. The other thing that we need to do, and when we talk about a goal like a business and the result is £1 million, which is quite, in all honesty, I don't think is a great goal, but it's a very basic one that we can present this video with, is that if you have a goal like that, there is a certain amount of workload, there's a certain amount of things that you need to do to set up that business and skills that you need to acquire to set up that thing, to do that thing. And you need to learn, you need to work really hard, you need to create new relationships. There's all these things that will create that piece of a puzzle and all these steps. And then you need to take those steps. To achieve a goal like that, you need to quantify what it takes to achieve that revenue, break it down into the goals, and then you need to start achieving them. And those small achievements, those tiny little steps, which could be, today I created a new relationship with a new business partner. Today, I sent out 100 emails. Today, I created a new website, whatever it is. But you need to be able to prove to the part of your mind that you're actually capable of doing it. And what we see is, especially in business, is somebody sets a lofty goal, they set a business, and as they start trying to work towards it to achieve it, they don't take the right steps in doing that. They don't put in the right workload. They don't really give the true effort. And then what happens is your mindset then starts to come in and goes, you truly are not capable of doing this. And then momentum slows down, and it really kills anybody's chance of success. And you start to realize, well, hold on a second, it was way too much and it was way too difficult. And you work with the governor to prove yourself right in that you're not able to do what you said you was capable of doing. The way in which, and it sounds ridiculous because we're basically talking about actually working towards a goal, but the way in which we prove to our mind that we're capable of doing something is taking the steps towards it. And it goes for anything. So literal steps when you're running 100 miles is, if you're in pain and it's difficult, you're taking literal steps further than what your mind is saying you're capable of doing. Pain signal is a signal to stop, to protect yourself. Walking past that pain, walking through that is a signal to the brain that actually I'm capable of much more, and it will stop sending those pain signals. This is how it works. And when we're in business, taking those steps, sending those emails, working on those businesses late at night, working on that business plan, developing your skill set, learning, reading those books, you're taking those steps. You're taking steps in the right direction. You're walking through the discomfort and pain. It's hard to read books. It's hard to learn. It's hard to teach yourself new skills as an adult. It's hard to make new relationships. These are things that are difficult. Being successful is difficult. And when you walk through that fire and you walk through those difficulties, you're telling your brain that you're capable of much more. And that's the important thing to do. So that is one of the biggest steps of being in charge of your future, your goals, your destiny, is by being in control of the governor. And the way I see it is, I think some people, when I've read about the governor and we've done this research, some people have spoken about it, that they are the person in the driving seat. And I personally think it's a detrimental way to think about it, because at times, I promise you, in the most difficult of tasks, you will fall off. It happened to me in the run. The best thing about it is my governor believed that I was capable of doing quite a lot. And there are times where I'm going to have to push him off the driving seat. I'm going to have to take control. But when you fall to your very basic, essential foundation, the foundation of what the governor thinks that you're capable of doing it, you are not in control. And the governor is in control. That's what the theory is. And instead of allowing that to be really low down, you want to work with the governor and push his limitations up. And this is where that sort of discipline versus motivation comes in. I know they don't sound connected, but it's like, sometimes I see someone, they set a goal for the gym and they want to be in shape. They go in and they are in control. They blast through the workout. They absolutely destroy it. Maybe they do that for 3 or 4 days. Maybe they do that for a week, but they burn out. And once they burn out, they fall back to their lowest level of their foundation of what they're truly capable of, or what their foundation is of their workout book. And usually that's really low. So when you work with the governor, what you're doing is you're taking up your foundation up. When you fall off, your foundation for what you are perceiving to be output is high. And that's exactly what happened to me on the run. There was a time I had to overcome it on the run. And if you guys have tuned in for the last few episodes, you'll know what point that was. There's a documentary coming out about it. But that was on the world's heaviest marathon day, and I had to push through. I had to use motivation to get through. And that, for me, that took the governor to a new level, which is fantastic. And you can do that, but you need to do it constantly and sustained. And you still don't want to fall down massively. You want to fall down to the level of, what the governor was at the whole time. But when I got to the 450 mile portion of the run, the slightly lighter weight, I didn't have any motivation towards doing it. It was purely the disciplines of what I'd worked on for the past 6 and 7 months. It was the discipline of knowing that I could run for hours and hours and hours and bear pain for hours and hours and hours. It was, the governor knew he was in a safe space and that he could do this all day long. Now, on the final few days, we got into really bad spots because I'd never stretched my body to that part. But because it was pain, and it was pain that I had felt before, a level of pain that I'd felt before, again, the part of my mind was comfortable being there. And this is what resilience training is. And Pete, I know some people are sitting here now probably watching this thinking, yeah, but I'm not going to do 450 miles. I'm not going to carry a stone on my back. I'm not going to do the World Service Marathon or whatever. I'm not even going to do physical feats. I'm in business. What happens when it gets really difficult? And some people will go, well, my business is going to go smoothly. And my plan to become a YouTuber or to be a filmmaker is going to be really smooth. It doesn't work that way. Life will hit you on the blind side. Business will definitely hit you on the blind side. And when you're in those darkest moments and it's very, very difficult and it's painful, you need to be able to still facilitate whatever it is that is working towards your goal. You still need to be able to work with your employees. You still need to be able to work towards some progress. You cannot become stagnant. With a goal that's so tall of starting your own business or becoming a YouTuber or whatever it is, with a goal like that, you need to have momentum. And the moment that you cut that and you destroy that, it will stop all progress. And that for me is where that baseline of foundation comes in. It's not about a physical run. It's about life in general. And if we wanted to take it one step further, we could talk about it being in relationships as well, constantly working on it. And when things get difficult, there'll be a part in your mind that might want you to just back out. There might be parts of your mind that make you go, I'm not going to try anymore. I'm not going to do anything. And there's those kind of things as well in situations in life. There's a multitude of things like that, just general day-to-day life, where pushing the limits of the governor and creating this resilience training constantly is extremely important, and it can help massively with all aspects.
If you lead a busy life like me and millions of other people around the world, you might be struggling to get your nutrition in. That's where this stuff comes in absolutely clutch. If health was easy, everyone would be doing it. But she'll make it that easy. You scoop, you shake, and you go, and you get 40 grams of protein, 26 vitamins and minerals, and every single ingredient inside this and all of Huel's other products has been expertly tested by their team to make sure you're getting exactly what you need. And if I'm really in a pinch for time, I'll grab their ready to drink, which has 35 grams of protein, 26 vitamins and minerals, and tastes delicious. Don't just take my word for it though. People like Idris Elba, Diver CEO Stephen Bartlett, and hardest geezer who ran the entire length of Africa use this as part of their daily routine. So if you want to find out more, go to the link down below. You can get exclusive offers, like if you sign up to their subscription service, you get 10% off all future orders. And if it's your first time ordering, you get a free shaker and t-shirt. It's also now available in major retailers in the UK and the US. What are you waiting for? Go get it.
So here are the 4 things that I want you to take away from this and practice. These 4 things will work with the governor theory. 1, awareness. Do some research on the governor theory. It's not something that I've seen spoken about that much. There is some literature around it. There are a lot of people who study it. It is a theory. That's the whole point of it, is a theory. But after being on the run, for me, it's very, very apparent that there is a part of my mind that controls the output for me. And if it does that in a physical sense and can shut down my body, physically shut down my body, not to be able to take an extra step. Like, we have footage of this. I couldn't take an extra step. And a week later, I'm doing 2 extra miles. It wasn't physical. It was mental. My brain did not want any more pain. If it can do that, it can affect other aspects of our life. And now looking back over my life and looking at my business, I can see where it's apparent, where the governor is saying, you need to stop, like, this is too much. And the other thing is remember, having that awareness is great, because right now this will be happening to you and you're not aware. You have no knowledge of it. You just think that you're at capacity. We are so much more capable. We just need to learn how to set those limits internally. So have awareness, number 1. Number 2, set incremental goals. This is how we're going to work with the governor to constantly push up on what is a limitation for ourselves. We need to retrain the mind and re-hack, or whatever you want to do, what you want to call it, the brain, and tell it that our limitations are higher. We're not talking about beliefs here. We're not talking about what you believe to be your limitation. We are proving to a very deep part of our mind, the governor, that actually we're capable of doing more. And that's through small incremental steps. So this is not a belief. You have this belief of what you're going to achieve. That's great. We're going to talk about that in the next step. But this one is about the baseline, the foundation, the deep part of the mind, your subconscious and your unconscious, teaching that what you're capable of. And we do that through practical application and taking a step up each time. So it could, in business, it could be interacting with more people. It could be working more hours. It could, I don't know, it's applicable to your business. In the gym, it's adding a kilo to the bar. It's doing extra reps. It's working harder. It's doing tighter nutrition. In running, it's extra miles. And so on. But you need to set the baseline of what you are capable of to your subconscious, not your belief. Step 3, or goal 3, is the goal. This is the belief that we have for ourselves. And I say this to people, and I say this to my family and to my friends and to everyone I'm around. I truly believe everybody is capable of anything. There is no limitation. I believe, and this might sound big-headed to people, but I think this is a great mindset to have, as long as it doesn't spill out into ego. But I truly believe that if I wanted to be the prime minister, I could be. I know it sounds stupid, but I believe that. If I wanted to be an astronaut, I could be. I probably wouldn't be able to be a horse jockey because I'm quite big, but I believe these things. Like, I truly believe that I could lift the world record stone. I could do the world record. I believe that I could run the furthest. That I could win a BAFTA. I can win an Oscar. Like, I believe these things. My limitations are so wildly high. And I've always lived like that. I've always been a dreamer. And some people think that, well, you should be pragmatic, that you should be a pessimist. I disagree. It's very, very important to have an extremely high ceiling. To do this, we spoke about this before, to do this, you need exposure to these things. So it's okay having wild dreams like I do, but then get exposure to it. So I want this company at some point to be $1 billion company, and that's a difficult thing to perceive. And I've always said that. I've always said that I want this goal. When I went and met Ben Francis and I walked into Gymshark and I saw what this man stood in front of me, who I'm having a conversation with, who is skin and flesh, who looks like me, who's had a similar upbringing to me, and I'm walking around his 100,000 square foot building with all his hundreds of staff and everything he's achieved in his brand, I realized that this $1 billion company and this man made this possible. And guess what? I made of skin and bones and flesh too. So it's possible for me. So set the goal, get exposure. Super important. Number 4, practice resilience. And we talk about this all the time, but constant small incremental steps, like we've spoken about, can be done in little day-to-day things. Doing things you don't want to do is another way of teaching something in your mind that you are in control. And one thing I've spoken about before is ice baths. And I'm looking at the Brass Monkey Ice Bath right now, which, again, sorry, I've mentioned this before, for the charity run. This giveaway closes very soon for the ice bath. Go to the link in the description. Every £5 donation gets you a chance to win the Brass Monkey Ice Bath. But the reason I'm talking about the ice bath is because you don't want to get into the cold. It's very painful. It's very cold. Your body and the governor is screaming at you not to get in. When you overcome that, you're telling it who's boss and you're taking it to a new level. Then you increase the minutes, you increase the time. Eventually, you become used to that, and the ice bath. With the Brass Monkey Ice Bath, I drop the temperature. At the moment, it's at one of its coldest settings. I drop the temperature, and then I do it in situations that I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it at 5 a.m. I want to do it in the evening when the sun's out and it's the end of the day. Do it in a difficult moment. Do it in darkness. Do it, all these different things. Do something you don't want to do. Not just about ice baths. It could be a cold shower. It could be running. It could be exercise, but do things you don't want to do, and you're going to tell the governor that you have some kind of control of the limitation we're both setting here. And you start to change the subconscious. You start to have that strong mindset deep inside. It's not just about some motivation. It's really, really deep in here that actually this is who you are. So you need to practice resilience. You need to constantly push what you're capable of doing. And number 5, I know I said 4, but just wanted to say this because it's just come to me, is you need to find support in this. When you are having a dialogue with the mind, it's you versus the governor inside your mind. This at times can be very powerful. We don't understand this at all. Science still doesn't understand this. And I promise you that at times whatever it is that's influencing the brain or the deep part of the governor, it can affect you and it can win. Having people who support you, and when I say support, you need people around you who believe in more for yourself than you can even believe for yourself. Very important. And when you find those people, stick to them, because when this wins, and you might struggle at times, and hopefully, in training and practice, it won't happen as much. But when it does happen, it inevitably does. And I could speak to a situation with Neve's behind the camera now, my brother Luke as well. And I was losing to the governor, and they were around, and they came in and said what I was capable of doing. And that all reminded me of what I'd already done with the run. And that for me, having that around you, that support group, is very, very important. Now, if you are sat behind there right now and saying, I don't have anyone, I promise you, because I've heard this before, I promise you, if you go out and seek it, you will find it. You can make friends. And I always had this thing of like, you've got the people around you, you got your mother, your dad, your brothers and sisters, and the close friends that you grew up with, and that's sort of your circle. And some of those people bring you down. Some of those people don't talk very highly of you. Some of them might support you, and it doesn't make you feel great. And like, oh, I don't have anyone who supports me. I hear this a lot. Make new friends, build a new circle, and you can do that. You could, and if you live in a remote part of the world, go online and do it. There are people, and hearing that encouragement from somebody thousands and thousands of miles away is support. It helps. It's still the same thing. If somebody can look at you objectively and go, hold on a second, Jordan, didn't you do that 480-mile run a month ago? And he could be 7,000 miles away. And I go, oh yeah, actually I did. And he goes, I think you're capable of doing this business plan you've said you're going to do. Like, of course you can do that. That's what you need. You need somebody who can pull you up. Find a support group. And like we talk about one person, it's great to have one person. Find 5, find 10. All your friends should be like that. And the way you find those friends is by being that for somebody else. So, and this lesson isn't supposed to be about how to make friends, but be that for somebody else and support people in that way. And usually when you're like that and you find, you get what you need. You get what you need out of people. You get what you give out into the world. Not what you need out of people. You get what you give out into the world. And the universe and the world will reward you. So yeah, very important. Look, I'm not proclaiming to be an expert in this. This is my experience through the run. The 480-mile run was one of the most difficult things I'd ever been through. And it was very much on the brink of what my human body was capable of doing. Right, like we're over 2 months now, maybe 2 or 3 months after it, my legs still don't work. My feet, I still have compound fractures in my feet. We're building back and I'm pushing back, but physically it destroyed me. But what's so interesting about it is everybody's asked me about it. Everyone's asking me about how much it hurt and physical and how difficult it was, all this kind of stuff. Everything relied on the mind, everything. And yes, I had to be physically capable of doing it, but I think there's probably 1 million people in the world who are physically capable of doing what I did. Are there people who are mentally capable of doing what I did? I don't think so. And that sounds egotistical, it sounds big-headed, but my point with that is that was the most important thing. I don't think we understand that. And one thing I wanted to bring here today is that it's not everything. There's so much more I learned about this on that run. But one thing is that there was something deep inside my brain that I didn't have as much control over or any control over at times. And that was the governor. And once I realized that and I worked with the governor, I was able to achieve so much more. And now in my day-to-day life, it's transformed my business. I've come back from this run. You would not believe the way we're operating this business now. It's completely different. Neve can speak to it. Like the way everything's changed right now is crazy. And I could break down everything, but if I was to break down one thing, it's that this is so much more powerful than we believe, and we need to really find a way to work it, hack it. There's this hack the brain thing that people talk about. And look into science, look into these theories and see if they apply to us. And if they do apply to us and you've trialed and tested something and gone, oh, hold on a second, this sounds right. All we're doing is putting a certain box around it. But if I can put a box around it to be able to articulate it to people, or find a box like the governor theory that already exists, that people have already poured their science into and their theories into and studies into, and I can go, actually, yeah, it worked and it helped me massively, then I wanted to share that with you. So yeah, I'm not an expert, but it worked for me. And if you want to find out more, go find out more from experts. But you can apply the things that I've told you to apply, and it will just change your life anyway, because it's just good stuff to do. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching. Hope you have a blessed and productive day. The charity is still open for the run. If you want to help us, we're quite a bit below our £20,000 target right now. We're trying to get headstones for bereaved parents. There's a GoFundMe down below. I believe we're going to achieve the goal, and the goal is to help as many people as possible. So anyway, thank you for watching. Have a blessed and productive day, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.